Hi everybody, welcome to the 17 subscriber special. While I recover from being sick, I thought I'd make another video, this time talking about something that I really love, which is Splatoon UI. My first ever video was also about Splatoon UI, but I covered everything in a lot of detail and it was a bit tough to follow along with. So for this one, I'll break it down in order of the 5 coolest UI pieces throughout the series. This won't go over how well integrated and functional each piece is, more so how much I like them and some background details about each one. For the 5th coolest UI piece, we have the Splatoon 1 Super Jump Marker. I know it's a bit of a weird one, really only being a difference in texture compared to the later games, but I've never really been a fan of flat texture design, and the glossy wavy look appears in-game really nice and feels perfect for Splatoon. The reason I think it was changed in Splatoon 2 and 3 is that those games have more of a reflective glossy texture on the ink, which requires a more matte and monotone super jump marker. This is of course reversed in Splatoon 1, where the ink itself is somewhat monotone and matte, and the super jump marker is the way that it is to appear better against it. Number 4 is the Splatoon 2 Freshness Meter. There's not much to this one other than I really love it, and it looks like it was created using wizard magic. The translucent jelly-like texturing is super cool and pops out really nicely with the shading they added to it. Just a 10 out of 10 thing that I would eat if it was real in real life with my real hands. Number 3 is a really cool one. Again from Splatoon 1, which has a lot of subtle UI differences from the later games. I'm of course talking about what's on everyone's mind, the slight difference in the lower HUD inkling icons. Yep. Instead of being a flat texture like in the later games, Splatoon 1 opted to have a more isometric angle to them. The eyes sort of extend past the body and change depending on the way your inkling is facing. It's really cool. The only guess I have as to why this was changed is that it's unnecessary, but I like unnecessary, so it's number 3. Number 2 resolved a beef that I had that spanned many years. It is the ingenious Splatoon 3 special gauges. So beautiful. It would be so beautiful. For a long time, I had a preference for the use of actual models in some parts of the UI design of these games, which mainly came from a strong disliking of Splatoon 2's special gauges. A flat look with just unique enough design to be somewhat Splatoon themed, even though the splatter markers still kind of look like camo squiggles. This might have been one of the most exciting moments of that Splatoon 3 Direct for me, when I saw how they had changed the special gauges. The special gauges in S3 take the basis of the ones found in S2 and add meaningful detail on top of them. Instead of being flat across, there's indentions and shadowing that give some needed depth to these icons, as well as a glow to the filling meter which resembles a car speedometer. Really cool. It's just really awesome. Now it's time for some honorable mentions. I know it's beyond unnecessary to have honorable mentions in a video about UI, but there's a lot of cool stuff in these games, so here's just a few. The realistic tape of Splatoon 3 is found throughout a lot of the game. In the menus, shops, even in trailers and promotional images. The tape has some depth to it with the raised sections and some nice shading to really sell the appearance. There's also the spawn arrows of Splatoon 3, which is really cool in that it's quite an apparent example of 3D UI, being able to be seen from any direction as players other than the ones spawning in can see it while down on the stage. And lastly, there's the inkling pointer that was already making steady progress from Splatoon 1 and 2, but now added a little twirl to its animation loop, which is so much effort. It does make sense as players will usually be looking where this icon is pointing, so it's good to give it a bump in extra effort, but it's still just really cool. Number 1 is the creme de la creme of UI, the magnum opus of UI, the purple Pikmin of UI. It is the Splatoon 3 prompt boxes. Now there is an infinite amount of things that can be said about these prompt boxes. They are just beyond anything I could have hoped for. The entirety of the Splatoon series is embodied by this one piece of UI more than anything else. The liquidy appearance that looks even reflective, it's just so impressive. And it's even more impressive that it's a flat 2D texture and not a 3D one. But it is still no match for my true number 1 spot. The Splatoon 3 loading icon. It is so cool. I get excited when I think about it. Even though I might have forgot about it while making this list. I don't know how I could have. I blame it on my sickness. But yes, this icon is my absolute favorite piece of UI in anything. When I first saw it in that Return of the Mammalians trailer, I was starstruck. I knew this game was going to be so important to me, and I obsessed over this thing for so long. Its origins are from Splatoon 2's icon, which is another flat texture, which to its credit has some nice animations attached to it, but Splatoon 3 took it like 90 levels forward. A liquidy texture that reacts to the drops landing back on it, and the motion of it spinning, it is unbelievable how cool it is. I know some dev was sitting around wondering how to make load times less boring and made something that belongs on a museum on the moon with sunglasses, cool sunglasses at that. It is cool, really cool.